Welcome back. All right, I hope everybody had a wonderful Easter. Easter Monday in Canada tomorrow. Of course, I understand that Easter Monday is one that might cause people's heads to go, pardon? But yeah, we have Easter Monday in Canada. Anyways, Shane Wright recalled today by the Seattle Kraken, so we may see him in the lineup. Of course, Seattle's outside of the playoff chase, so it makes sense to call up Wright, see what he's able to do. Wright's an interesting one. Next year, I think, is a big year. Does he start the season with Seattle? I know a lot of people are going to be, bust in the comments, but the reality is that with Wright, they've been trying something different, different from what we normally see with player development, sort of like the Ducks have done with Leo Carlson. So we'll see how it turns out, right? For Shane Wright, he's got a few weeks now, potentially, to play with Seattle. Maybe he plays really well. Looking forward to seeing what he does. So Ryan Hartman has a hearing tomorrow. There was an incident last night where he threw his stick in the direction of an official, which means doesn't hit the official, right? But throwing your stick in the direction of an official, that does lead to, in this case, it's going to be a suspension. That's why there's a hearing. Now, it's not an in-person hearing, so it's not going to be a long suspension. But Hartman does have a history of recent suspensions. Not for this, though. So again, sometimes with player to safety, they'll say, well, he's got a history, but not in this area. So we'll see what happens. We'll see whether or not they cite previous history. But he's going to get suspended. Minnesota, of course, their playoff hopes took a huge blow yesterday, and they were pretty slim going into yesterday as it was. So we'll see what they do from here. Elias Lindholm didn't play today for the Vancouver Canucks, but he is set to accompany them to Vegas. They play in Vegas on Tuesday. I think after a long homestand where they end up 5-3-1, which is, you know what, it's respectable over a 9-game run. We'll see how they do on the road, though. I think it'll be refreshing for them to get out on the road, and we'll see if Lindholm does get back into the lineup. The interesting thing, of course, being it's day to day, but it's already been like a week. So these day to day injuries suddenly don't seem like day to day anymore. It gets harder and harder for me with what I'm reporting on to say, okay, so this guy's just like, it sounds like it's a really minor injury, and then a few days later, the guy's still out. So that's happening increasingly around the NHL. It's one of those things. I talked about it with Brody Brazell on whether or not the NHL would ever change that. And I think it would have to be where, the gambling apps say, hey, look, we're paying a lot of money. We want to know what's going on, which has been discussed before, but we haven't seen that yet at the NHL level where they feel that real pressure and they have to make that change. Turcotte for the LA Kings. He has been placed on the long-term injured reserve list. It's an upper body injury, and which is just awful news for Turcotte. He has had numerous injuries over the years, just repeatedly. So being on LTIR, not great. Akil Thomas has been called up. He could play for the LA Kings tomorrow. He could slot into their lineup. Thomas, of course, one as well that's had injury problems along the way. It's taken him a little bit longer to get to this point, but he could make his NHL debut tomorrow. So we'll see what happens should he get into the lineup. Of course, this is also the time of year where the NCAA signings are going on. I haven't been putting them on the board. I've been talking about the NCAA signings. There's two reasons. One, I try to report just on when first rounders sign entry-level contracts. Initially, when I was doing news of the day kind of things, it was just there were so many, and it would be like, oh, you missed this and you missed this. And then a lot of the NCAA players they come in, they play, and then they kind of disappear. It happens a lot. So we'll see with this NCAA crop too. I was reading through like the bios and some of the bigger names, and these are guys who are not drafted, so players can pick them up for free. They're just all you're doing is spending a contract on them. But it doesn't look like there's any real game changers amongst those that are free agents to be signed. And there are some others who, of course, Lane Hudson watches on with Montreal. He signs. Odds are I'll be talking about that. But yeah, I know all the excitement around Hudson with Montreal fans, so I get it. But we'll see with NCAA winding down its season. Obviously, you get to the Frozen Four and all that. And then we start seeing a lot of these guys get signed who haven't already. So that's why I haven't been reporting on them. That's why I don't get into guys signing entry-level contracts when they're third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh rounders and such, because it ends up being a lot, and a lot of these players may not end up playing in the NHL, or if they do, they may not be around that long. So, yeah, it can be exciting, though, for a team to be adding. Again, you're adding guys who are 22, 23, in some cases maybe as old as 24, but you're adding them for free, right? You're just having a contract spot. Every team has 50 contracts they can have signed, And so go over to Cap Friendly. It'll tell you how many of those 50 your favorite team has signed right now. It is not like the NHL hockey game where every team goes to 50. Every team just goes to 50 right away. It's one of those things that when I was playing the game, I was like, I don't know why in GM mode they do this, because teams don't generally just sign 50 guys right out of the gate. I did want to talk about the game today, so of course I did the review from down on the water there at Falls Creek, but I wanted to get into the numbers a little bit more. Obviously, I don't take a board with me to the game because that'd be weird. I'm not going to stick around in the arena afterwards and film a review. That would also be weird. But the Canucks with the 3-2 win, this is the first time they've had a 100-point season since 2014-2015. So for all of the comments I've seen about they're going to be out in the first round, this team's not ready, this team sucks, da-da-da-da-da, the reality is they're in a position that no Canucks team has been in for about a decade. So again, I'm enjoying the ride. They're 46-20-8. For the Ducks, 24-47-4. I'm wearing a Ducks jersey that I did see at the game. I saw a lot of Ducks jerseys. I don't know if anybody from California actually came up, and I wasn't walking up to people and asking them, hey, are you from California? Because it'd be kind of silly. I would imagine there are just Duck fans locally and all that. But yeah, so today's game, the first period, the only goal was Brock Besser on the power play. From Hughes and Miller at 11:26, so I wore my Brock Besser jersey. He gets a goal. Second period, it was Dakota Joshua with a beautiful between-the-legs goal. Suter and Hronik with the assists at 9:34. That's the first point Hronik's had in a while, so it was 2-0 Vancouver after 2. And I turned to Yvonne and I said, so this game should be done because Anaheim has a hard time scoring 2 goals in a game, much less a period. I don't know that I was mic'd up for that because the Ducks came out in the third, and at 3:37, Zellweger scores his first. So kudos to him for that. Lundestrom and Vetrano with the assists. And then at 4:48, it's McTavish from Lindstrom and Zegras, and it was tied. And that's where I was like, okay, so I feel like I somehow jinxed this, even though the only person that heard me would have been my wife. Did she, text somebody from the Ducks and you better go tell the guys this? At any rate, Joshua really bailed the Canucks out. At 17:47, he scores another nice goal from in close. Garland and Miller with the assists. And Connor Garland, one thing that stands out when you see him live and you watch the Canucks is that everybody towers over Garland. He doesn't care. He does not care. He has no fear. I love Garland's game. I think it's great that he's embraced that role, and he's fun to watch. I gotta say, Garland, Hoglander, they're two guys that are fun to watch when they're out there. They're two very hard-working forwards. And Joshua, now up to 15 goals on the season. I know he's probably not going to hit 20, but the fact that he's at 15, considering how many games he's missed, it says a lot about the steps he's taken this year in his development. The shots on net were 9-5 Vancouver in the first, 12-8 Anaheim in the second, 13-5 Vancouver in the third. Final shots 30-22 for the Canucks. Power plays, Anaheim 0 for 4, Vancouver 2 for 4. Their power plays stopped with that one Joshua had the goal on. The hits were 34-10 for Vancouver. Vancouver was definitely physical today. That showed, but Anaheim's a fast team. Anaheim's got some speed out there, and there's a lot of potential. Zegras getting an assist. We'll see if maybe this is a sign he's going to start getting things going. Again, the last couple weeks of the season, you want McTavish going, you want Zegras going. I thought Vetrano looked good out there for them as well, and they were a crossbar away from potentially ending up with the lead. So I was slightly concerned watching. But yeah, Dostal saves 27 out of 30. I thought he played well. And Silovs, 20 saves on 22 shots for him. I was kind of hoping, of course, going into the third, maybe they'd get him his first career shutout in the NHL. But he's now 4-2 in the NHL, so that's not bad. Your 3 stars were Joshua, Silovs, and Zellweger with his first goal. So again, the Canucks reach 100 points for the first time in almost a decade. And I'm enjoying it. I've seen the comments of, oh, that's a loser mentality to just enjoy the ride. Why? If I'm standing here going, it's Stanley Cup or bust, it doesn't have any effect on the team on the ice. It just increases my stress level. And it gives an expectation that I don't know if they can reach that or not. So I'm enjoying this. They're in the playoffs. And they got to 100 points. It's kind of a fun time. So at any rate, it was a fun game to watch. I will be at the game on the 10th against the Arizona Coyotes, and we'll see how that one all turns out. It could have been a win for Anaheim, absolutely, yep. But considering it's the end of a 9-game homestand, I'll take it. And again, Now they go out on the road and they have a chance to potentially just lock down that first place in the division. Very, very important they do that. But there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, I didn't get a lot of actual videos done today, but it was nice to get out of the house. Went shopping with Yvonne after the game was done. We shopped for a few hours. I didn't actually buy myself anything. Went into numerous stores and I was like, I don't really need anything. So at any rate, there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. But it was nice to get out, clear my head a little bit. And so look for a bunch of videos tomorrow. Look for a bunch. But thank you guys so much for all your support. And remember, tomorrow is April the 1st. So just saying. But thanks again for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.